This is the Front Stretch on AM 590, brought to you by Joe's Karting, online at joeskarting.com.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch. This is Turn 2, fully stocked by the Party Pantry in Council Bluffs, located just off the beaten path at 35th and 5th Avenue. It's time to find a gas station that won't break the bank with some great prices on food, fuel, beer, and so much more. The Party Pantry is where you go to save on some green. It's also where you go to get something that I have never had happen before. You always see it in the old-time movies, full service.
Full service.
No one does that anymore.
Full service at self-serve price.
And the thing is, you used to get full service at 25 cents, 50 cents a gallon. Now we're paying, what I saw it today at $3.33, I believe.
I think it's like, actually, I think it's into the upper 320s.
Yeah, I think that Casey's down there in Council Bluffs next to your house is $3.29 now. But
yeah, but Party Pantry's usually cheaper than them yet.
Yeah, it's usually about a penny or two.
And Party Pantry?
And they're stepping up, and they're doing a little bit extra, taking care of their customers.
Oh, absolutely.
Full service. You pull up to the gas station, and on Tuesdays, right?
Tuesdays, Tanker Tuesdays. They'll actually have the Hooters girls out there from the Council Bluffs Hooters pumping your gas for you and cleaning your windshield, stuff like that. And then on other days, they have local high school kids. Have them come on in, have the kids pump your truck or pump your car up with gas, and great gas. I mean, they power me straight to the winner's circle. I shouldn't say winner's circle. I got to get through the wrecks first.
Yeah, they power you right into the wrecks.
Yeah, I'm wrecked pretty powerful with Party Pantry fuel.
It's time for the Fast Five stories that are dominating the NASCAR world. What do you have for the first one, bud?
A bill in the House of Representatives could ban the military from sponsoring sporting events. A recent bill has been passed through the House Appropriation Committee this week that would stop the branches of the U.S. military from spending taxpayer money by sponsoring sporting events, and this would include the professional and collegiate events. I'm actually against this ban. I think the military, it's not exactly a business that's in the business of employing 50 and 60-year-olds. They want to go get the young kids, the high schoolers, the early college years, post-college, immediately after college. Well, gee golly, who would have thought that age demographic would have followed sporting events? Obviously they're going to have an advertising budget. Not only that, but I think when NASCAR has done everything that they could do for our military veterans, I know this week out at I-80, and I believe Eagle Raceway just had a military tribute. And so the racing's going to take care of the military, but then, these bigwigs up in Washington are going to say, well, we're not going to let the military, sponsor these events, or come on.
To be honest,
this is not right. I don't like it. When
I'm sitting here thinking about it, I'm not entirely sure where I fall on this, because as a sales guy in my real life, I know the how irritating it is when a sponsor like this goes away. So it's a completely biased view on that side of it. The other side of it, I can see that people are paying their hard-earned tax dollars, and it's turning around and going into sponsoring sporting events, which I think there's pros and cons on either side of it. I think this is an issue that, frankly, does it really matter on this day and age? I mean, does it really matter if the military obviously sponsors NASCAR, basketball, baseball, all these sporting events because it gets them out there and it helps drive recruits. And obviously we're going to need recruits to defend our nation's borders, to defend our freedom. So if the military just decides they're not doing any more advertising, I will tell them as a sales manager, a guy who sells advertising every day of the week, that doesn't work. You have to get your name out there. And even though you're the U.S. military, you have to keep it in people's minds that there is stuff like tuition payments, to where you spend 4 years in college, or you spend 4 years in the military, and they'll pay for your college. There's different stuff you do like that. So, I guess I'm kind of sitting there on the fence, just trying to figure out where I'm going to land on this.
I kind of see where you're coming from, but I'm a prior Coast Guard. I did have limited time in the Coast Guard. It's Department of Transportation, or it was back in 1996 when I was in it. But the one thing, over at Joe's Karting, I'm the operations manager. That's no secret. Guess who we have a lot of? We have a lot of Air Force groups. We do about 100, 150 Air Force groups a year. But then even more importantly, we do probably in the ballpark of 30, 35 outings a year that are the Navy recruitment class or the Army recruitment class. And if they do away with this, it's no, don't do. If we're good enough to take out Saddam and we're good enough to take out the other guy,
Osama bin Laden.
Thank you, Osama bin Laden. It's early. If we can do that as a nation, get off the military's back, guys, and we're doing our job. They're putting their life on the line every day. Come on,
yeah, I think the biggest argument here, and the one thing that's got me a little bit hung up, is that honestly, I think there is better places my tax dollars could go to, but my biggest concern right now is anything that gets the economy going.
Yes.
And if that means that I'm paying taxes that goes into the military, which comes back into sponsorship for sporting events, which means I get to entertain. It's essentially like I'm paying taxes for NASCAR to keep running and for there to be sponsorship of a basketball event and for a baseball event and for football games. In the end, I understand that people don't want to spend their taxes on advertising dollars, but it comes around as a giant, a circle of life kind of a thing.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, look at the F-22 Raptor. It's never been in a mission yet, and we got hundreds of them out there, and they're like tens of millions. Well, I don't think we're looking at billions of dollars here for advertising.
No, not at all. But they'll find a war to get that into eventually. No worries. Don't worry about that. They'll find somebody to invade.
All right, what's number 2 there?
Stewart-Haas Racing still looking to re-sign Ryan Newman, and you're going to hear this coming up a little bit later. An interesting story is unfolding that we'll talk about in just a little bit, but as far as Tony Stewart has talked about on Tuesday, he said that they are working to re-sign Ryan Newman. They want to bring him back on board. There's no plans to replace him or to not bring him back. He said that Ryan and myself are on the same page. We want the same things. We're just looking to find a deal. And Tony has talked about the goal is to bring a third team into Stewart-Haas Racing for the 2013 season, and that's obviously going to be driven by Danica Patrick. So there is no intention to replace Ryan Newman at a 39 car. He wants to bring Ryan back. The only thing we got to do now is make sure Ryan wants to come back, and that's kind of a teaser for what we got coming up in number 4. This is the front stretch. This is turn 2, fully stocked by the Party Pantry, Council Bluffs, just off the beaten path at 35th and 5th Avenue. Every Tuesday, head down to the Party Pantry and get your gas pumped by a Hooters girl. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every other day of the week, it will be pumped by a young teenage kid that is not going to rob you blind, just going to help out and make himself a little bit extra dollars. It's a nice way the Party Pantry is giving back to the community.
I just got to thinking 38 double Ds and 89 octane can't go wrong.
Oh my God. It didn't take you long to go inappropriate. What's number 3?
NASCAR levies penalties against the 39 and 51 team for the incident at Darlington on Tuesday.
Before we get into this, let's recap what happened at Darlington, because when we talked about it last week, we didn't have a lot of what had actually happened. Apparently, the 51, while leaving under the final caution flag of the race, was trying to get out in front of the pace car, as far as what Kurt Busch has told in his stories. Now, apparently, he spun out in the 39 pit box, which I guess is a bit of a no-no.
It's a big no-no.
It's an insult?
It's kind of an insult, but it's also a safety issue. You got the guys out there, zing, 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 zing. Here comes the lug nuts off. Those lug nuts can be left underneath there. Well, if you're standing behind the car and I get on the throttle and I spin a tire and I just happen to catch a lug nut, you're going to have a sex change real quick, Dan.
and apparently he got very close to hitting one of the 39 crew members, which they did not take kindly to. And there was radio chatter between the spotter, crew chief, and Kurt Busch in the 51 team that the 39 team was looking to brawl after the race, essentially. And it didn't help any matters more that when Kurt came off the track on the cool-down lap and pulled into the pits, apparently he was taking his helmet off and didn't see Ryan right in front of him stopping. And he ends up destroying the back of that 39 car, which just made it seem even more that he was mad at the 39 team, even though he wasn't.
Okay, in my professional opinion, not that I'm a professional, but in my professional opinion, if I'm coming down pit lane at Crawford County Speedway and my car is rolling and there's a car parked right in front of me, and we've all done this in our street cars. You're going down the road, take your hands off the wheel, you're going 5 miles an hour. If he's destroying Ryan Newman's car, he ain't going 5 mile an hour. 5 mile an hour, you hit the back end of that car, you might have a little bit of sheet metal damage. You're destroying the back end of that car. You sure as heck ain't taking your helmet off.
And the thing is that reports were he hit it good. I mean, I saw the back of the car. That was no 5, 10, 15 mile an hour accident. I think what had happened, and I'll give Kurt Busch a little bit of credit here, I think that did happen. We've all done this before where we're pulling up to a stoplight. We see it turned yellow, so we start to press on the brakes. We give it a certain amount of pressure, and we quit paying attention to the car in front of us. Maybe we look down at our cell phones, text, and we look back up, and they have stopped faster than we originally estimated. And so you got to hit the brakes a lot harder. I think that's what happened in this instance, rather than looking down and texting.
What kind of a vehicle do you have?
Helmet off. A Ranger, Ford Ranger.
I've got a $250,000 Ferrari, and I'm at a stoplight, and you're pulling up to me. Are you going to go, wow, that's a Ferrari? I don't think you're going to stop on my back bumper at a stoplight.
Yeah, but I'm not pulling up to $250,000 Ferraris around here. I'm pulling up to SUVs and old beat-up dualies. But anyways, I give Kurt a little bit of, but the thing is, a lot of miscommunication went on the track, and there were some heated tempers afterwards. Kurt blew up on the radio again, unfortunately, and so the 51 has had some fines. What did Kurt get exactly?
On Tuesday, NASCAR issued, I would imagine Tuesday of last week. On Tuesday, NASCAR issued their penalties on the members of the 39 and the 51 team that were involved in the pit road incident in Darlington last Saturday night. Kurt Busch, not last night, but a week ago.
Last Saturday night, right?
Kurt Busch receives a $50,000 fine and is placed on probation until July 25th. Craig Strickler, a crew member for the 51, receives a $5,000 fine and is on probation until December 35th. And then Tony Gibson, crew chief of the 39 cars, placed on probation until June 27th, while Andy Ruger is fined $5,000 and placed on probation until June 27th.
And Andy Ruger is the gas man for the 39 team.
Yeah, all this right here that I'm talking about, this is pretty standard.
Yeah, this is just kind of NASCAR likes to see that kind of stuff on pit road and that kind of, because it adds a bit of drama to the races, a little bit of talk. I mean, there was a lot of talk this week leading up to it about what happened with the 51 team.
We'll get into this a little bit more in turn 4. I'm all fired up.
So NASCAR is just basically trying to keep things safe on pit road. That's the biggest thing, is you can do whatever you want to on pit road, but when you start to bring people's safety into effect, you're going to get fined and you're going to get suspended and you're going to get put on probation. They take safety extremely seriously, especially on pit road. On to the Fast 5 number 4, Andretti Racing looking to get into NASCAR, and could it possibly be in a Dodge?
That would be interesting.
Multiple sources have talked to FoxSports.com that Michael Andretti, owner of Andretti Motorsports, could be headed to NASCAR to start a team in 2013. He could be going over to the Dodge program. Now, neither Dodge nor Andretti has confirmed this so far, but they are expected to make an announcement in July as far as what they're going to do exactly. They're looking to run a 1 to 2 car team, and guess what 2 drivers could possibly need a ride next year?
Danica Patrick and Andrew Koziski.
Danica Patrick has got a ride already, and Andrew Koziski may still be sleeping at that point in time.
What do you have to say about that, Andrew? Oh, you hear that? That's crickets.
That's him snoring.
Yes.
A guy had a late night last night. I'm actually shocked that we've all made it up this early with as late nights as we've had. But anyways,
with what we're gonna get into turn 4, all I want to say is I hope he's okay.
Yes. So Ryan Newman, obviously still in negotiations to re-sign with Stewart-Haas Racing, could possibly be wooed to come over there, because remember, all of Ryan's wins in his big surge into NASCAR came in Dodges. He hasn't had a lot of luck since he switched over to Chevys. Kurt Busch, he just left a Dodge. So, and now he's sitting, I believe they're running Toyotas over at Phoenix Racing.
I believe so.
So he could be interested in that position. I'm a firm believer that Joey Logano is going to be out of a ride next season.
That wouldn't surprise me if Logano's out. But if I was Dodge and I was going after one of these 2 drivers, first and foremost, I think anybody would agree with me, you're going to want to go after Ryan Newman.
Yeah.
But if I'm Ryan Newman, I've got Tony Stewart, 3-time champion, over here, brand new organization, and you can bet your sweet dollar Tony Stewart doesn't have any chintzy parts or an operation. I mean, that guy is so focused mentally, business-like, and racing-like. He's going to have a top-notch program. He's not as big as Hendricks, but I can guarantee you he's just as sharp as Hendricks.
We saw this with Clint Boyer leaving last year. I was shocked until I found out why he ended up leaving, that he ended up leaving RCR, because that's a very reputable organization.
Yes.
To go and race for Michael Waltrip Racing, who until this season hasn't really done much. I mean, they've had performance issues, but then you come to find out the backstory that Clint kind of saw the writing on the wall that he was going to be out of a ride in a couple of years anyways, with the Dillon brothers coming up, and eventually Clint was going to get replaced. I kind of wonder if Ryan doesn't sit there and say, in 2013, we're going to have Danica Patrick, and I'm all of a sudden going to be the third wheel. Tony's obviously going to be the flag for that ship.
No, I don't think that at all, because you look at the rapport between Newman and Stewart, I think it is rock solid. These guys, they're a perennial top 5, top 10 team, if not winning. Danica is definitely the third wheel. She's got so much to learn from these two guys, and right from the get-go, Newman has been with Stewart. And as time goes on, I think that relationship will just get built stronger and stronger. I don't see Newman going anywhere anytime soon.
Now, I know you're going to be shocked by this, but I'm going to disagree with you. Okay? Now,
you disagree on anything I say.
I disagree with that. Come on. Sometimes I agree with you. I think that with Danica coming over, I'm just going off a gut feeling here. I have no news that would lean me this way, but if I was Tony Stewart, I would make sure that Danica's winning races, because she's going to bring more pub to Stewart-Haas Racing and to NASCAR if she's winning than if Ryan Newman's winning. And that's what it is all about, these organizations, is getting your sponsor on that car the most TV time, and I think sponsors are going to get more TV time if Danica Patrick is winning rather than Ryan Newman winning. Now, this is all speculation and hearsay.
All speculation, but here's what I'm looking at too. So Danica comes on. Now, there's a lot of Danica haters, and there's a lot of Danica supporters, just like any other driver out there. But let's say Danica comes on board, and she's not exactly running top 10s. I mean, shoot, just the other week she was running 31st, and all she wanted to do is to finish the race. Stewart does not want to finish a race. Stewart wants to win the race each and every time out, so just like Newman. So the worst-case scenario, Danica comes over to Stewart-Haas. She's not running real well. Well, guess what? He still has Newman right here. They're running pretty good. Otherwise, if Newman leaves because he's thinking he's the third wheel, and here comes Danica, and she's not doing well, but Tony's doing his job, Tony's going to feel like a moron.
Well, and I think the biggest thing that would attract Ryan Newman away from Stewart-Haas Racing more than anything would be the opportunity to go race back in a Dodge. I think that was one of the big reasons why Tony ended up leaving Joe Gibbs Racing, because he did not like Toyotas.
He's a Chevy guy.
And that was just another reason to get into this ownership thing, and he could drive some Chevys. So, interesting things. I think we're definitely lining up for one heck of a silly season. We had an unnecessarily crazy silly season at the end of last year.
Yep.
And I think we're definitely in key to have another one. So it should be a great. What's number 5, the final one?
Things are looking better and looking up for the NASCAR Hall of Fame. As the NASCAR Hall of Fame is about to turn 2 this month, good news is finally coming out of the Hall. For almost the last 2 years, the Hall of Fame has been losing money at a much higher rate than expected. The good news on this is that the attendance is finally starting to normalize from last year, therefore allowing the Hall to plan for a more accurate budget.
Generally when you start a business, you can anticipate to lose money for 3 years. The thing that scared NASCAR was how fast they were losing money at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, but when they opened up the Hall of Fame, they weren't exactly opening it during the most prosperous time in the economy.
You're right. And it's tough because it's...
Well, think about this.
It's in Charlotte, North Carolina, right?
Well, it's in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
But now, Dan, with that fancy little Ranger that you just got, by the way, it's a gorgeous Ford vehicle.
Thank you.
But you do have, obviously, an auto payment. That's more than my house payment on this. We have a house payment, but you need transportation. You need a home. You need food. You need clothes. Is the Hall of Fame a necessity in life?
You're right. It's one of those extra things that on top of, if I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina for a race, I will go to the Hall of Fame. But
are you flying out of Council Bluffs to go to Charlotte to see the Hall of Fame?
That's not on my bucket list to go see the Hall of Fame.
No.
Eventually it may be, but
yes.
The thing is that on my bucket list is to go see the Daytona 500, to go see Bristol, to go see Talladega. I want to go see races at Chicago. I want to go to all these different racetracks. Farther down on the list would eventually be the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, when the Hall of Fame is competing with all these other venues for your expendable dollar. I think their attendance is going to do good. Their revenue is going to do good. They just have to have the time there. I mean, I see this over at Joe's Karting all the time. Everybody thinks we're millionaires. No.
You're not?
No. No.
But the good thing for the Hall of Fame, it's the good news is that things are starting to stabilize a little bit. They're seeing attendance kind of coming up a little bit.
Yes, and it will. It'll take time though.
The nature of that beast is that it's going to be something that people are going to make plans for a couple of years down the road. And from what I understand, it's an absolutely awesome experience there.
Well, I'm sure you'll see me and old Andrew Kaziski, when he wakes up. One of these days, you'll see our mugs down there in the Hall of Fame.
You just got to finish a race first.
Shut up. Shut up.
That was
a low blow.
That was turn 2, fully stocked by the Party Patriot. Just around the corner, we're going to be into turn 3, and we're going to talk about Joe's Karting, actually, stepping up into the NASCAR circuit. This is kind of interesting. Some of you know that in just a few hours, they're going to throw the green flag at Iowa Speedway in Newton, Iowa. And
I'm all fired up.
You're going to see Joe's Karting all over the side of a car. We're going to talk about it in just a few minutes. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting at Council Bluffs on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.